Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much for your interest in our beautiful national native Russian breed. Well known from the ancient times, since that time, well known worldwide. This breed could be considered is the symbol or image of Russian sinology, and it is a really pearl with a very special construction, with a very special conformation and movement. So, before to tell you about the specifics of this unique breed, I would like to tell you about approach I'm going to use when give the comments to the standards. And this approach is the model approach, which includes two models: the biomechanical model of the dogs and harmonic model of the dogs. The construction, the specific of the Borzoi conformation is quite not easy. That's why this approach, in my opinion, is required to give the deeper explanation for the better understanding of this unique breed. So, Катюша, я вас попрошу дать мне две картинки: борзую со всеми линиями и черного терьера. Sorry, sometimes I'm talking to Katya in Russian, but if you like, we can communicate in English, of course. In front of you at the screen, you can see two our pearls, Borzoi and Russian Black Terrier. Borzoi was a symbol of perfection from the ancient times, as well as the Russian Black Terrier is the modern symbol of perfection, created by talented Russian breeders rather short time ago. Both of them are really pearl. But why did I ask you to put on the screen the Black Russian Terrier? Because it is the very nice example which can help me to illustrate what does it mean by mechanical model of the dogs, which in the full volume is valid for the majority of the dog breeds, and maybe better for the overwhelming majority of the breeds. Borzoi constructive model is unique, and its constructive model is a result of the modification of the classical model, which is illustrated by Black Russian Terrier. I said to you now that this model is valid for the majority of the breeds, but there are some exceptions, and Borzoi belongs to this exception. So to understand how and why this classical construction illustrated by Black Russian Terrier was modified to the Borzoi, I have to tell you about the principle included in the biomechanical model. Biomechanical model is the integrity of several postulates. I will tell you about during my lecture not only about the biomechanical, also about the harmonic model of the dogs. The model approach is included in my doctoral dissertation. I defended in the field of biology. That's why all statements I will tell you do belong not to the field of the hypothesis, but to the field of the scientific proven facts. So you can trust you can fully trust to these statements. So the first postulate of the biomechanical model is 2, 1, 1. What does it mean? That the spinal column is divided by the anatomical divisions according to ratio 2, 1, 1. When 2 units fall on the thoracic part of the spine or actual back, 1 unit falls on the loin, and last 1 unit falls on the sacrum, which is the upper part of the croup. This postulate, this principle, is very important, not because of the first place among other postulates, but because of its value. Why? Because this proportion, when it is used in breeding program, will provide several very positive features of the building. Strong top line as the whole, compact body, I mean short coupled or short in loin, deep chest, and in the first approximation, correct angulations in front and in the rear, as well and as the balance. Next postulate is the principle of right angle by the axis of the pendulum. I can call conditionally pendulum the angle created by 2 lines is along the shoulder blade median line, blue line, first one, and the second blue line is connecting hip and iliac tuber. And this is the point of intersection. So this angle is 90 degrees. What is the sense? What is the reason of this postulate? 2 reasons. This line create preconditions of the balanced movement. I mean, they create preconditions of the equality of the front and hind stride. And the second reason is that the slant or slope of the shoulder blade and iliac bone, slant of this and slant of this, is not independent. And the dependency is based on the right angle on the at the axis of the pendulum. Third postulate, named principle of 2 horizontals. The first horizontal line between A and B is connecting humeroscapular joint and hip joint. The second, CD, is connecting elbow joint. Please be careful, not ulna, not elbow ulna, but elbow joint and knee joint. That means that the humeroscapula and hip lie on one level, on one horizontal line, as well as the elbow joint and knee joint lie on another horizontal level, or they are placed at the same level. This principle is in charge, sorry, just a moment, is in charge of the influence horizontal position of the spinal column when moving, when trotting. Because when dog is trotting, these two green lines are oscillating contrary, and the mutual oscillation is compensating oscillation each of them. That's why all violation resulted by dog's movement are softened, and they do not change the horizontal position of the spine, which is very important because the motive thrusts when dog is trotting are transmitting from the rear, from the iliac bone to the front along the top line. And when the top line is level, is horizontal, that means that the dog should not work to lift center of gravity. And that's why it helps the dog when moving to be not tiring. We can see here just a sloping top line. And at the same time, the spinal column is practically level, not sloping. And this slope is resulted by the length of the spinous processes, which height is decreasing from the withers to the tail set. The principle of two vertical lines, yellow, in the beginning it's red, and then you can see it is continued by yellow color here and here, can help to get the optimal meaning of the front angulations and the rear angulations. The first vertical is created by the position of the elbow joint, which is placed exactly under the top of the withers, while the knee joint is placed exactly under the tail set. I will not give you now the details which can help you to understand why it has happened and how do they create these positive results. It is a special topic, and should you are interested in full detailed explanation, I would suggest you to read my book, Dog Conformation and its Evaluation, available in UK in Our Dogs. So, two verticals are in charge of the optimal meaning of the front and all rear angulations. Moreover, elbow joint is exactly under the withers, and knee joint is exactly under the tail set. That means that we have special mobile support of the spine from the beginning to the end. And this mobile support is also in charge to soften the violation appearing when dog is moving. There are some other postulates, but I will not mention them here because we will not use it when considering and analyzing the dog conformation on the example of Borzoi. Now, let us look at the picture of Borzoi, what we can find here, that the top line from the beginning of the withers to the tail set is divided by anatomical divisions according to different ratio, when 1.7 falls on the back, 1.3 falls on the loin, and 1 unit falls on the sacrum. I will explain you this later on. Now I only interested to show you the difference. This is the difference number 1. Difference number 2. The angle by the axis of the pendulum is not 90 degrees like here, but it is an acute angle, approximately 60 degrees. The humeroscapular joint and hip do not lie on one horizontal line. They are placed on different levels, and height at hips is more than height at elbow, and the difference is approximately 15 degrees between this green line and the horizontal line. At the same time, which is similar to the classical model, elbow joint and knee joint are placed on the same horizontal line. Why did it happen? And because of what? Let us come back to the function of Borzoi, which was hunting dog, special hunting dog with the most speedy movement. Its typical gait is full gallop. Катюша, я вас попрошу дать 2 картинки. Где скелет Борзой на карьере и где заяц? Нет, предыдущую картинку. Да. So, the full gallop means that the dog is moving in huge leaps. When when dog is landing, the hind legs placed in front of the forelegs, like in case of hare. This parallel is not accidental, because hunter and prey are developed in the same conditions of life, in the same terrain, in the same landscape. Look at the arch. Look at the arch. Look at the positions of the hind leg being a lot ahead of the front legs. And now let us try to analyze why and how did it happen. Coming back to the aim of this hunting dog as Borzoi, very fast dog, moving on huge leaps. They are so huge that the hind legs are in front of forelegs when dog is landing. That means that the hind legs have more swing than the forelegs. And how could it be provided? First of all, the hind legs should be of extreme length. Otherwise, they couldn't be placed in front of the forelegs. But how it could be realized, how it could be approached, what construction could be suitable for this kind of movement? Let us imagine that we are trying to lengthen the hind legs of the dog. It is not the illustration of the statement and hypothesis I'm going to set you out, but it is for the next step. So coming back to my my explanation, let us try to lengthen hind legs and nothing else. Everything will be unchanged except the length of the hind legs. What will happen? In this case, a rump will be higher than the width. And what does it mean? In this case, front angulation will be exaggerated. The humerus scapula, not like this picture, it is a picture of our final explanation. And the humerus scapula will be approaching to the acute angle. And the acute angle is a bad angle for the front assembly because the dog needs to spend a lot of efforts and waste a lot of energy to unbend this articulation. This dog with such construction, which I will call overbuilt construction when the rump is higher than the width, is not able to move long time. Too much energy it will spend. This dog will be tiring in a short time, and our goal will be not approached. So another idea is idea similar to hair, when the top line is arched, and that's why the longer hind legs could be placed under the body. How to realize that? Let us imagine that normal dog without an arched top line, just a normal dog, similar in construction to the Russian Black Terrier, we put on the chair with a small surface. It is very clear that the top line will be immediately arched, while the angulations, front and rear, will be straightened. And this is also not a good idea because straightened angulations do not give the dog to move with the long strides. Unbending of these articulations will lead to the short strides, or in front, either in the rear. Also not a good way. But what could be done further? Let us imagine that the spine, I mean the whole spinal arch, whole spinal column is suspended. Suspended so much that under this spine could be placed longer elements of the rear. Then the question is where this point should be located and how high it should be suspended. Swing of the hind legs should be more than the swing of the forelegs to provide the full gallop, as we told already about. That means that the point of suspension, it seems to be, should be placed more far away from the rump. But if it is close to the withers, it will straighten the shoulder blade position, and it will open too much humerus scapula and shorten the front stride. Bad idea. Moreover, in this case, dog could be easily turn over the head. I mean, somersaulted over the head when catching the prey, not away. If we place the point of suspension in the region of the actual back, we have not to forget that the back is not so flexible as the loin because of the support. It is supported by the breastbone. But if we shift the point of suspension to the loin region, we will decrease the distance to the rump, and it will decrease the swing of the hind legs. It happens in case when the spinal proportions are 2-1-1. What happened in the reality? Mother Nature and natural selection during several centuries led to another proportion of the actual back, loin, and sacrum. And the ratio 1.7, 1.3, and 1 is typical in the average for the breeds, for the Borzoi population, as well as for the best specimen of the breed. 1.7, 1.3, 1. Moreover, the top point of the spine is located on the first or second loin vertebra. Now, just a moment. Very easy calculation. 1.3 and 7 vertebra. So one vertebra length is about 0.2. 0.2, if it is this, if we consider placement on the second loin vertebra, it means that first plus the second give us 0.4 plus, look at the this length, 1.7 plus 1 plus, sorry, 0.4. It is a 2.1. And if we consider placement on the first lumbar vertebra, it means that 1.7 plus 0.2 will give 1.9. So point of suspension is in between So it is located in the middle of the top line. The first or second loin vertebra are located in the middle of the top line, and there is the region where top point of the spinal column is located. That means that in case of Borzoi, loin is longer than in case of other non-Sighthound breeds. But what is very interesting, and it is also very easy to calculate, that the length of the loin vertebra is 1.5 times more than the length of the thoracic vertebra. And it was the reason why and how length of the loin increased. So instead of 211, we have 1.7, 1.3, 1, but if we consider the middle of the spine located at the first or second vertebra, that means that we still have 2, 1, 1 again. Why is it important? I will tell you when we come back, when we will go to the harmonic model of the dog, where the explanation of this ratio 2-1-1 and its importance for the harmony of the dog will be fully explained. Next one. This angle is about 60 degrees. But when dog is moving, Катюша, я вас попрошу дать мне картинку в движении.
В нормальном или в таком?
Пока так, да, пока так. When dog is moving, and we can see here take off, the beginning of the leap. You can see that the hip and humerus scapula do belong to one horizontal line. It could be easily explained. In this case, this horizontal line will help the dog to provide maximum of translational movement, because this line is parallel to the longitudinal axis of the dog, to the longitudinal line of the movement. It is when dog is leaping, when dog is moving on leap. And it is the most important thing because the aim of this breed was hunting. And hunting could be the best when dog is exceptionally fast on the move. When dog is trotting, you can see what is happening. Angle by the axis of the pendulum is becoming 90 degrees, like in the classical case of the dogs not belonging to Sighthound's group. And why could it happen? Because when hind leg is unbending, the pelvis is turning counterclockwise, and this angle is approaching to the 90 degrees. And this angle is important for the span of the forelegs. I will discuss it in more details when we will be reading the standard and analyze the part of the movement. Next important thing is, as you can see, vertical lowered from this point of intersection is also very special, because the limbs, when they are converging, when dog is trotting, they are converging to the base of this vertical. This is very important, because the center of gravity lies on this vertical line, and this condition provides the special situation. What do I mean? If the legs, especially the hind legs, which is for support of the body at this point, are placed at the base of the line where is located center of gravity, the dog movement is not so, wobbling of the movement is minimized. What should I say? Moreover, the vertical line lowered from the eye to the paw at the moment of landing or close to it could be considered as the criterion of the correctly extended trot. But as I told you, the full explanation or more detailed explanation to be given when reading the standard in part of movement. So you can see how the lines of you can see the difference. Dog in stance and dog when trotting. And this is no less important moment of the movement, providing the best translational movement of the dog. Once again, of details of modification, the constructive model in case of Borzoi. Top line proportions are changed to this ratio. Loin is longer. The top point of the top line is placed on the first or second loin vertebra, and this is the middle of the top line. That's why the top line proportion from the width to this orange line, and from this orange line to the yellow line placed on the iliac tuber, and further to the tail set, are built according to the previous ratio 2:1:1. The humeral scapula and hip do not lie when dog is standing anymore to the same level. Hip is higher than the humeral scapula, and the difference is about 15 degrees. While, like before, elbow joint and knee joint lie on one horizontal line. Like before, elbow is under the withers. But the second vertical line is missing, because in case of Borzoi, croup is sloping, and the upper thigh is much more slanted, much more sloped in the comparison to non-Sighthound breeds. But why still is it here? Because for Borzoi it's extremely important that the spine, when dog is landing, catching the prey, is supported the best by the elbows. For the moment, this is enough, I think, and we can go to the harmonic model of the dogs. In the beginning, it will be classical model, and then I will explain what will remain and what will be not valid for the Borzoi. Before to go to harmonic model of the dogs, I will tell you about the golden section, because harmony could be explained, could be created first and explained the second, by this principle, which is universal form building principle of harmony. What does it mean, golden section? It is a long story, and I can tell you a lot about this subject, but not today. Today it will be briefly, quite briefly. Golden section is the name given by Leonardo da Vinci. It was 16th century. But actual golden section as the principle was well known in the ancient time. We know pyramids in the ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, Renaissance time. It was well known and very efficiently used. According to Euclid, who lived 3 centuries before Christ, golden section could be determined as the division of the segment O1 into unequal parts, this one and that one, if the whole segment, which length is 1, we can see here, to the biggest part, which is x, you can see x here, is equal to the ratio between x and smallest part, 1 minus x. You can see it here. This proportion could be easily transformed into square equation, and its positive root is this one. Square root from 5 minus 1, and all should be divided to 2. For the third approximation, you can see this number, this fraction. For the more rough approximation, it will be 0.62, and the last most rough approximation, it will be 0.6 or 3 to 5. In our practice, we will use this number instead of that. Doesn't matter that this is the rough approximation. When we are measuring the dogs, mistakes of our measuring exceeds the, I would say, tail of these numbers. So for our practice, 3 to 5 will be enough. In the 12th century, So 4 centuries before Da Vinci and Luca Pacioli, I will tell you now who was here. Another mathematician born in Pisa, Leonardo Fibonacci, solved one problem, and its result was the sequence, easy sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and on. How it is built? 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, and on. Easy. If we modify this sequence like that, what are we doing here? We will divide each previous to the next member of the sequence. 1 and divide to 1, 1. Then 1 divide to 2, 1 second, 2 third, 3 fifth, 5 eighth, and on. What is important? That the limit of the sequence will be the same number. Limit of this sequence will be golden section. And we can find immediately the number we already mentioned here. But the most important thing is the next one. May I draw your attention to these red numbers, 1, 1, 2. Do they remind you anything you saw today during my lecture? Of course. It was 2, 1, 1. It was the spinal proportions of the top line. And I would say that there is a moment of truth, because according to these numbers, the ratio 2 to 1 and to 1 gives the dog construction the initial tuning to the golden section. Without these numbers, the harmony, which is in accordance with the golden section, could be reached. They are required as the base of harmony in the dog construction. That's why you're kindly requested to keep in your mind that these two numbers should be checked when you are examining the dog. It should be checked by your fingers and check if the anatomical divisions of the top line are built in the accordance to these three numbers. About Luca Pacioli. Luca Pacioli was also mathematician, lived at the same time as the Leonardo da Vinci. And he was the author of the book about the golden section named La Proportia Divina, or Divine Proportion. And Leonardo da Vinci was the only illustrator of this book. But he renamed La Proportia Divina to the golden section, Sectio Aureo, and this name is now very well known, opposite La Proportia Divina. But in the name La Proportia Divina, you can see very deep sense, because this is a proportion given from above, given by God. Now, we can go to the harmonic model of the dogs. We saw this picture already and can find here this ratio 2:1:1. The only second vertical line is shifted a little bit backwards to the most high point of the top line. But anyway, you can find here the influence of the golden section. Look at this vertical line. This is the elbow joint. This is the width, top point. And this is the level where humerus scapula is placed. So, if we look at these proportions, we will find 2:1:1. Why? In the standard is written that the foreleg, that the height at elbows is just a little bit more than half of the height, but it was because of the ulna. As usually you measure height at elbows at the level of the elbow ulna, and this is the elbow joint, which is placed lower than the ulna. So this distance is exactly half of the height at width. Shoulder blade and upper arm are approximately of the same length and the same slope to the horizontal line. This angle and this angle are practically equal, contrary, slanted. So the vertical projections are equal, and that's why it is not surprisingly to find here 2:1:1. So the construction of the Borzoi is according to the same ratio, either along the top line, this is the middle, and this is also middle of the rest. So 2:1:1. And vertical ratio is also in accordance to the same 2:1:1. So you can find out the influence of the golden section. This is the length of the body. I connect sternum and buttock. Please be careful, not humerus scapula, but this point, which is placed a little bit ahead of the shoulder point. And this is the end of buttock. And this is the last rib, which can explain what does it mean length of the chest. This is the length of the chest. So length of the chest to the length of the body is golden section, 3 to 5. Length of the body to the length of the diameter is 3 to 5. What does it mean, diameter? I connect occiput and the paw of hind leg. In case of Borzoi, the rear pastern should be set a little bit slanted forward. But this is a small difference if I will say that the rear pasterns are upright. This difference is very small. So usually we measure distance between occiput and rear pastern, paw of rear leg, when the rear pastern are placed up behind the body to the vertical position. Of course, these points do not lie in one vertical plane. And we are considering the projection to the vertical plane of this line. And this vertical plane is parallel to the longitudinal axis of the body. Height at elbow, I mean elbow joint, to the sum of head and neck length is golden section, 3 to 5. Girth of the muzzle to the girth of the skull or circumference, the same, is 3 to 5. Let me tell you something else, please. The best or more famous, more well-known example of the harmony is egg. I mean Easter egg, which Fabergé used as the symbol of the harmony. Why did it use it? Harmony is not only beauty for the eyes, but is the shape which have the optimal functions. In case of the egg, I can say that the egg is built according to the golden section, namely, its cross diameter to the longitudinal diameter is 3 to 5. And it is practically impossible to destroy it squeezing evenly in your hands. So maximum durability is the result of the golden section shape. Don't forget that the aim was to protect the best embryo which is inside. So you can see this correlation between beauty and functions. In case of Borzoi, you can see the shape in some ways resembling the egg. And Borzoi should have maximal developed bite because it is a hunter. Try to remember, in the past, some Borzois belonging to the special group were wolfhounds, and they task was to not only to catch the wolf, but to hold him until hunter will be coming. Can you imagine how powerful should be the muzzle and how strong should be the bite? That's why this proportion is required for this head. At the first look, it could seem too fine, too refined, too aristocratic, but at the same time, it is extremely powerful. I told you about two approaches which could help me to explain some statements of the standard. In front of you, you can see gorgeous dog. He was a award winner. He got a lot of top titles, and he is really magnificent representative of the breed. Absolutely gorgeous specimen. Now I can read you the standard, and from time to time I will take a break to explain some sophisticated points. So, utilization: hunting sighthound, racing and coursing hound. Borzoi is the hunting sighthound to be used mostly for the chasing hare and fox, less for wolf hunting. Combines high agility with the endurance and the ability to tackle a game deftly at once, successfully used for the coursing and racing. Classification: Group 10, Sighthounds. Section 1, long-haired off-ranged sighthounds with working trials. Brief historical summary. The history of the Borzoi dated from the 15th century to the Mongol invasion. The Tatars used sighthound of Arab origin, Kosi, while the Russian hunters did not have sighthounds. When hunting, they used extraordinarily strong Russkaya dogs, who were able to catch and kill a deer or even an elk. Kosi and Russkaya crossbreed dogs became the prototype of the Borzoi. These dogs were depicted on the prayer book belonging to the Grand Prince Vasily III, Ivan the Terrible father. In 16th and 17th centuries, new bloods of Polski Hart, Polish Greyhound, added the nobility to their descendants. Having grown, the fame of these dogs crossed the borders of the Russian Empire. Further development of the breed was influenced by crossbreed with the Klok, a huge, strong, and fierce-bearded Kurland sighthound. Their descendants became dogs without beards, with long fine hair. They marked the beginning of Russkaya Psovaya Borzaya type. The bloods of Greyhound added to the breed in the same time initiated the appearance of Russkaya Psovaya Borzaya type. Bloods of mountain Gorsky and Crimean sighthounds, known by the endurers, were used later. Just a moment. The Borzoi became the result of this multi-breed crossing. The vigilance, agility, and expedition of Borzoi in pursuing the game, its ability to flash like rush, to tackle the game deftly at once, its savageness and courage, all these important qualities proved out to be very useful when hunting the game in short, in irregular terrain. The Borzois were also successfully used for hunting in steppes, where it was required to work on longer distances. Hunt with large packs of sighthounds and hounds, and with the special horses, hunters, appeared in the 18th and 19th centuries. Such hunts consisted of up to several hundred dogs and differed from one another in type and working abilities. The Pershino hunt by Grand Duke Nikolai Nikolaevich was especially renowned for both the exquisite beauty of the dogs and their speed and passion for the game. The first Congress of Borzoi lovers was organized in 1874, but only in 1888, the Moscow Hunting Society adopted the first standard of the Borzoi, where a type of Borzoi was unified after all. Yermilov was the author of this standard. the fundamental principles of the standard still remain the same despite changes made in the 20th and 21st centuries. In 1925, 1939, 1951, 1963, 1969, 1980, 1993, 95, and 2006 years. After all sophisticated explanations regarding a modal approach, which I can understand was very tiring from you, especially without physical contact, when I could use my fingers for the best explanation. As you know, the Niels Bohr famous scientist told sometimes that that theory is that which is impossible to tell on fingers. I tried to use my fingers, but from the distance. Sorry, when it was not so efficient. Now, I would like to tell you one beautiful legend, and maybe you will have a rest before we start to read and analyze the standard. Usually, origin of this name, Loshaya, people think is based on Losh. But there is another story, and this is a very beautiful legend. The wolf, leader of the pack, saw at the edge of the forest horse. It was a mare. She was so beautiful that he fell in love. And this feeling was mutual. They left the forest, built their own house, and a bit later, their son was born. He was named Loshaya Собака. But the wolves, this pack, could not forgive that their leader who betrayed their pack. They were looking for the suitable moment, attacked the house, killed the wolf and his wife mare, and the only child, Loshaya Собака, was lucky to be hidden, and he was survived. But everything happened in front of his eyes, and he swore that until the end of his life, he will kill and destroy the dogs. This is the story. Now it's our reality, and now it is a general appearance. Dog of aristocratic appearance, tall, lean, and strong, harmoniously built, rather high-legged, fairly narrow in the body, slightly elongated format. Females are longer than males. Skin is thin, elastic, without folds. Muscles lean, elongated, very well developed. Bone structure is strong, but not massive. Something about terms used in this part of the standard. Format. It is a special term in Russian sinology. We are using the term format of the body when we divide length of the body to height and width. If they are equal, the dog is square-bodied. If it is more than 100, the dog is elongated. or long body, depending on how much it was elongated. Important proportions. In males, the height at withers is equal or 1 to 2 centimeters more than the height at the point of sacrum. Withers, sacrum. A little bit above this level or at the same level. In females, these two heights are equal. We have a lot of pictures, and after the standard, we will look at them. So it will be time when everything could be illustrated. And I will try not to forget to remind it when we will see the bitches. The length of the body somewhat exceeds the height at withers. This is explanation of the format. The depth of the chest is equal to almost half at the height at withers. And this statement is very important. What we see at this picture is decorated by furnishing, and what is inside is hidden. Look at this, please. Brisket is at the level not really reaching the elbow ulna. It's a bit higher. Why it is required? Because when dog finally is catching the prey, the dog can bump his elbows against the low sternum, low brisket, and it will damage the brisket. In the old English standard, it is written that the brisket should reach the level of the elbow, which is required for the best development of the heart, lung, and general blood vessels. But in UK, as I am aware, the Borzois do not hunt. So this problem of damaging does not exist. But for the hunting dogs, this level of the brisket, which is placed a little bit higher than the elbow ulna, is required. Let's go on.
Where?
So let us stay here.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm. The depth of the chest is equal to almost half of the height at withers. Of course, it's easy. This is the middle of the distance between ground and withers, and the chest breastbone is placed a bit higher. That's why this depth is a bit less than the height at elbows. The height at elbows is slightly superior to half of the height at withers. As I told you before, usually the height at withers is measured at this point, which is elbow ulna. And if we measure height at withers at the level of the elbow joint, these distances will be equal. height at width, and this distance from the elbow to the top point of the width. And this is based on the principle 2-1-1 I have told you before. This should be in the middle of this distance. Like this point should be also in the middle of the distance. Then 2-1-1 are presented. The length of the muzzle from the tip of the nose to the stop is slightly superior to that of the skull from the stop to the occiput. Other words, the muzzle is a little bit longer than the skull. Behavior, temperament. Temperament is calm. Visual response is well evident. Typical gaits. Before the game to be found, slow trot and even walk. In chasing the game, full gallop. The attitude towards people is neutral to friendly. So, description of the head. Aristocratic, narrow, long in proportion to the general appearance. The head is so lean that the principal veins are shown through the skin. Viewed from the side, the top lines of the head form a long, slightly convex line. Superciliary arches and zygomatic arches are not pronounced. Cranial region, skull, seen from above, narrow, elongated, oval-shaped. Seen in profile, almost flat. Occiput is well pronounced. Stop hardly visible. Facial region, nose. Large, always black in any coat color, considerably prominent in relation to the lower jaw. Muzzle, long, lean, well filled out in all its length. Straight or slightly down-faced, slightly arched near the nose. Length of the muzzle from the tip of the nose to the stop is slightly superior to that of the skull from the stop to the occiput. Lips, tight, well-fitting, fine, with black edging, whatever the coat color. Jaws, teeth. Teeth white, strong, incisors are closely spaced, canines are not too wide apart, scissor bite. Level bite is permitted, sorry, but not desirable. Complete dental formula. The absence of third molars and one of 2P1 is acceptable. Cheeks, flat, not pronounced. Ears, large, almost shaped, dark brown to brown. Eyelids are with black ending, tight fitting. Катюш, мне понадобятся рисунки ушей.
Рисунки? Там не рисунки, там вот они картинки.
Ну, фотографии. Хорошо, пусть будут фотографии. Да.
Вот фотографии.
Yes. Small, thin, mobile, pointed-tipped. Covered with short hair. Set on above the eye level. Set closely and backwards, pointing towards the nape of the neck. The tips of the ears are placed near each other, directly downwards along the neck and close to it. When the dog is alert, the ears are carried higher. On the cartilage, the tips are directed sideward or forward. Sometimes one of both ears are erect, like horse ears. Мы опять ушли от нее, да? Вам не нравится черный терьер рядом, да?
Ну, мне как-то, сколько может...
Ну, бог с ним, останемся.
Ну, полоцевая уже.
Ладно, не важно. Neck long, dry, muscled, slightly arched. Oval shape, slightly flattened laterally, of medium set. I would like to explain a little bit more this statement. Катюша, мне понадобится борзая в движении, где у нас... Нет, сначала мне понадобится принцип соотношения высоты в локте и суммы длин головы и шеи. Это предпоследняя пропорция, если я правильно помню.
Спасибо большое. Скорее всего, вот это.
Нет, следующий. Вот это. Да, спасибо. So, please take a look. Length of the neck is depending on this condition. What is the requirement? Height at elbows to the sum of head and neck length creates golden section. What is the conclusion of this? Try to keep in your mind what you saw just before, these two red lines. If this ratio is provided, then at the moment of landing or close to it, the vertical dropped from the ear is approaching to the paw of the foreleg, and it could be considered as the criteria of the normally extended trot. Why is it so? Because the eye is a little bit in front of the ear, and in the ears are located vestibular apparatus, which is responsible for the acoustic equilibrium. So please remember this sentence: watch your step. The dog should be a little bit in advance to that. And this is provided by the ratio from the previous build. So if this principle is provided at the moment of landing, dog reaches equilibrium. This is what is concerning length of the neck. Because if the neck is not long enough, head could not be moved forward enough. And then this vertical line connecting eye and paw of the front leg at the moment of landing will be not reached. So now I believe it is clear. And as you can see, without our model approach, we could not explain this important point and explain why the neck should be long. Body. Ну, хорошо, можно остаться здесь пока. Top line is smooth arch. With us not marked. Back, broad, muscled, supple, flexible. Some short break, some additional explanation. As you can see, I consider as the actual back the thoracic part of the spine. Even there are several other definitions of the back. And only this definition gives me the possibility to consider proportions between actual back, loin, and sacrum. And without this consideration, the main conclusion 211 could not be found. So, another thing, supple and flexible. Of course, the back, the actual back, is not so flexible as the loin, because the loin is deprived of any support from below. It is a mobile support, and actual back is immobile support because of the breastbone or brisket. But anyway, if the back is not flexible enough, then the whole top line could not be smoothly curved from the beginning of the withers to the tail set. So, and if it is not so flexible, then when Borzoi is hunting, it will not help him to curve the whole top line, and that's why influence the amplitude of the legs, of the strides. So please draw your attention to this point. Loin, rather long, arched, muscled, broad. One more stop. Rather long is clear. Arch is clear. Muscled also. Broad. Why do we require broad loin? Because unlike horses, the dogs have processes not so wide. And the only musculature which is developed gives the more wide loin. The wide loin is important because it withstands the roll gait, the wobbling of the croup. This is also very important, but because everything should be directed to the most correct translational movement without any deviations, either aside or upwards in the point of rump. Together with the back forms the smooth arch, which is more pronounced in males than in females. As I promised, we will find out the pictures illustrate this statement. The highest point of the arch is in its middle. That is the region of the first or second lumbar vertebra, lumbar or loin vertebra. Croup, long, broad, moderately sloping. One more break. This is a moderately sloping croup because the whole arch, the whole arc, the whole curve of the top line, as it is illustrated here, is really smooth, without any breaks. Many times, especially on the west, when the Borzois are not hunting, the croup is too much sloping, and this is a fault. And you have criterion to understand if the slant is correct or no, because of this disposition of two joints. In case of very sloping croup, this point will be placed lower, and it should be higher than the horizontal line from the humerus scapula. The width of the croup measured between the two iliac tubers must not be less than 8 centimeters. Very important, because if you remember, when a dog is moved in leaps, at the moment of landing, the hind legs should be placed in front of the front legs, which requires a big width of the croup and of the set of the hind legs. So when we are measuring sacrum between two iliac tubers, it is the sign of the width of the croup. Something else. Why do I use the term sacrum, which usually it is called as rump? Because sacrum, it is a upper part of the croup, and inside the croup you can find, when we see the dog from the side, two pelvis bones, or two pelvic bones, iliac and sciatic bone, plus muscles, plus tendons located in this region. All together, it forms the croup. Chest, oval in cross-section, deep, not narrow, yet not wider than the croup, let down almost up to the elbows joints. Also clear, because otherwise hind legs and front legs at the moment of landing will be in the wrong position. Viewed from the side, the forward chest is somewhat prominent, not too much, and places almost at humeroscapular level. In shoulder blades region, the chest is rather flat, but towards the false ribs gets gradually wider. It's also clear because this requirement provides the movement of the upper arm and especially elbows along the side of the brisket, parallel to the longitudinal axis of the body. Otherwise, the positions of the shoulder blades will be violated. Viewed from the side, the forward chest is, so I read it already, definitely shortened to false ribs. Underlie and belly abruptly tucked up towards the flanks. Tail, sickle or saber-shaped, thin, long, with dense and abundant feather. Passed between the hind legs and flanks, it must reach up to the iliac tuber. When the dog is standing naturally, the tail hangs downwards. In movement, it is raised, but not above the back level. So, you can see correct, too much above the level, and down, turned aside when moving, it's correct, carried down and turned aside, too much curled over the back. Okay, 4 quarters. General appearance: forelegs lean, muscled, seen from front, perfectly straight and parallel. Shoulder muscles are well developed. The height at the elbows slightly superior to half of the height at the withers. We have already told about that, because height was measured from the ulna, not from the elbow joint. From the elbow joint, it will be exactly half of the distance between the ground and top of withers. Shoulder blades are long and oblique. Upper arm long, moderately oblique. Angle of humeroscapular angle articulation is well pronounced. Is about 100–110 degrees. Elbow in parallel planes to the median plane of the body or slightly turned out, in-filled. Let me explain you this point. In-filled, which means a little bit turned out. In the past, Borzois were divided into two different types, two different varieties. The first variety were not so leggy, were a bit stocky in the body, broader in the chest, stronger in bones, wider in skull, in cheeks, and the head was more massive. These dogs were for hunting against wolves. And you can understand that in this type, the ribs were more sprung. And that's why elbow, while moving, was a little bit inclined aside. That's why this influence we can find out even today. And usually it is correlated with the shape of the chest, with the shape of the ribs. Forearm, long, clean, of oval cross-section, seen from front, narrow, seen from side, broad, points of elbow strongly developed. That means that the bones of the foreleg are flattened. From the side, they are rather wide. From the front, rather narrow. Typical for Borzoi. Pasterns, rather long, slightly oblique. Also important point. One more time, I tell you about the dangerous moment could happen when prey is catched. Straight pasterns usually are correlated with a more open humeroscapular angulation. Then straight or upright pastern, and usually correlated with it cat foot, are dangerous, because in this case, when Borzoi catched the prey, it can turn of the head or somersault of the head. So the slightly inclined, slightly slanted postures is the sign, usually, of the correct front angulation, and they prevent the danger I told you now about. Hindquarters. General appearance: lean, bony, muscled, well angulated. Seen from behind, straight and parallel, set slightly wider than forequarters. When the dog stands naturally, placed slightly behind. The vertical line dropping from the point of buttock, this is the point of buttock, sciatic tuber, must run along the front edge of the hock and rear pastern. The vertical line from the sciatic tuber should be in front of the rear pastern, close to it. All the articulations are well angulated. The hindquarter muscles are very well developed, especially on the upper thigh. Upper thigh, long and strong. Lower thigh, strong as long as this thigh. Hock joint, wide, dry, with well-developed heel bone. Hind feet, lean, narrow, of elongated oval shape called hare feet. Toes long, arched, tight. Nails long, strong, touching the ground. Now I would like you to describe with more details the structure of the 3 points: iliac tuber, hip joint, and sciatic tuber are placed not on one line, but create very blunt angle. And the upper thigh of the hind leg placed behind the body should be perpendicular to this sciatic bone. Why? It is well known that the 90 degrees angle is provided the best economical conditions for the functioning of the joint. Deviation from this angle will lead to the wrong direction of the motive thrust sent to iliac tuber and to necessity to spend much more energy for movement when the articulations are unbended. So this is the bone where extensors are placed. Extensors are unbent muscles, and the big surface here is required for the best development of these muscles. Regarding the upper thigh, which you can imagine placed forward, creates right angle with the iliac bones, because here are placed the bending muscles or flexors. So it should be in the focus of your attention. So I read it already. Gait, movement. In everyday life, the typical gait is the extended, free, easy trot. When hunting, the gait is full Russian gallop. I have already told about this picture, but it is an important part of the standard. So I would like to repeat it. We are saying that the movement is balanced when, first, length of the front and hind strides are equal. As you can see here, the legs, especially the hind leg, approaching to the landing to and supporting of the whole weight of the body at this moment, and the front leg are converging to the base of the vertical, lowered from the axis of the pendulum. This will provide the more stable movement. It will minimize the wobbling of the dog when moving. It is easy to understand. Let me give you an example. Try to imagine that you are in the bus. And the question is, where should you stand that wobbling for you would be minimized? Of course, you can stand in the center of gravity. The same is here, because center of gravity is located here. So this is the second condition which should be in focus of your attention when evaluating movement. Next one, the span of the limbs. When a dog is almost landing or close to be landed, should span of the limbs should be inscribed in this right angle, which create borders of this amplitude. And the last one, as you remember, is the vertical line which connects eye and paw of the front leg at the moment of landing or close to it, is required and should be considered as the criterion of the extended trot and condition of the equilibrium at the moment of landing. Skin, thin, elastic, tight fitting with no wrinkles. Coat, long, supple, silky, light, wavy or forming large curls. Small curls are permitted. The hair of different length on different parts of the body. On the head, the ears, and the interior side of the limbs. The hair is very short, close lying. On the back and the neck, the hair is longer and often wavy. On the outer side of the thighs, and the side is shorter and may form finer curls. The feathering is rather long and shining. The feather is located on the neck, forming a muff on the lower side of the chest and belly. On the back side of the forelegs and thighs, the feather is from below the tail We will have another pictures for that. At the root, at the tail root, the curls are usual. Color: white, pale of different shadings, red fawn, gray fawn, silver fawn, pale with a light gray shading, light red or light gray at the root of the hair with a darker red or gray main color, red with black overlay hair, often combined with a dark muzzle, sable, gray from ashy to yellowish gray, brindle, pale or red, or grain main color with a dark stripes like stria on marble, red, black, transitional colors between the red and black. All colors may be solid, pied, and with tints. Typically, any color tends to lighten up to downwards. Very important. I repeat this sentence, please. Typically, any color tends to lighten up downwards. Any colors from white to black in any combinations are acceptable, except of brown, blue, Isabella, lilac, and their shadings, namely dilute colors with not black nose. Desirable height at withers: males 75-85, females 68-78. Faults: over or undersize by 2 centimeters against indicated in the standard. The length of the body more than 10% or less than 5 superior to the length at withers. Eyes not big enough, deep set, round in shape, light, all shades of hazelnut. Teeth small, diastemas between teeth, absence of 1 of 2 PM2, absence of 1 or more incisors due to the injury if the bite is clearly evaluated. Top line is not smooth enough, pronounced withers, arch not symmetrical. The highest point of the top line evidently shifted towards the croup. Belly insufficiently tucked up, paunchy, pendulous. Tail a bit short, too high in carriage with a lateral deviation with curled end. Abundant flex on the body of the same shade as the base color. Too straight, furry, dull, tousled coat. Fringes of featherings poorly developed, lacking in the feathering. Equal length of the coat all over the body. Coat too harsh in shedding. Severe faults: head coarse with loose, thick skin, pendulous lips, seen from profile, blunt muzzle due to the nose not prominent enough, very pronounced stop, bleached, not dark enough color of the nose, eyelids or lips in all colors, partly depigmented pink, nose, lips, eyelids without signs of injuries, eyes small, yellow, weak-sighted, the third eyelid too much developed, absence of any teeth not mentioned, and the faults. Yes, low set, not placed closely directed downwards along the nape of the neck, set wide apart, too big, thick, heavy, coarse, with a tough cartilage, with a rounded tips. The length of the body is the length of the body more than 12% or less than 3% superior to the height at withers, over or undersized by more than 2 centimeters. Neck set high or low, round in cross section, sloping top line from well pronounced withers towards the root of the tail, pronounced roached back, straight back in males, loin narrow, short, too long, the length of the loin is comparable to the length of the back, straight, belly, not tucked up, forearms massive, with bones round in cross sections, fleshy feet, rounded or flat, splayed toes, tail short, thick, with no feathering, vivid flecks on the body of different color than main color, color on the body not lightened up downwards, abundant coat on entire body, excessive undercoat, rough, hard, bristle coat not in shading, lack of feathering, disqualifying faults, aggressive or overly shy dogs, any dogs clearly showing physical or behavioral abnormalities, color, brown, including cocoa, coffee, chocolate, blue, Isabella, lilac, dilute colors with a tip of nose other than black in color, completely depigmented pink nose, eyelids, lips, eyes, of all shades of gray, green, blue, eyes of different colors, teeth, overshot or undershot, wry mouth, incomplete incisors if densely spaced, missing at least one canine, if not broken, lack of correct interlock of the upper and lower canines, jaws non-locking, legs knuckling over, presence of dew claws, tail, corkscrew, broken, fused vertebra, docked even partially. And nota bene, male animals should have two apparently normal testicles fully descended into scrotum. Only functionally and clinically healthy dogs with breed typical conformation should be used for breeding. Okay, now let us sum up. Let us remember the harmonic proportions. When judging, when evaluating the Borzoi, you have some reference points which could help you to be more objective. They are indicated on these pictures in front of you and could be easily checked. So, first of all, top line proportions. When touching the top line, you have to find out the top point of the spine. And it should be placed in the middle of the whole top line. And the rest should be divided by iliac tuber by two equal parts. So it is 2, 1, 1. And this point, according to the anatomical divisions, is 1.7, 1.3, 1. You should not keep in your mind these numbers, because nobody will measure them when judging. But you can immediately find where is the border between the actual chest and the loin. And between these two vertical lines, you have to find out maximum 2 vertebrae. Very often, this point is shifted backwards. Then it destroys the symmetry of the top line. It is visible Sometimes it is emphasized by the code, so your hands will help you to check what is reality. The shoulder joint and hip joint do belong to a somewhat oblique line. So the hip joint should be placed somewhat above the humeroscapular level, while the elbow joint and knee joint should be on the same level. And it could be checked easily, and it will also increase the objectivity of your judging. To understand if the vertical proportions are correct, you have the criterion. Elbow joint is in the middle of the distance from top of the withers to the ground, or divides the height at withers into equal parts, and it gives you also possibility to check if the humeroscapular elements are of the same length, and this point should be under the withers, which will help you to understand if it is a maximum of front angulation of humeroscapula, because it is impossible to put backwards, more backwards, the elbow. It is the limit. So it will be the real humeroscapular angle. So let's go on. Loin is rather long. Usually the length of the loin and distance from the last rib to the hip are correlated. But in case of Borzoi, it should be a bit different. Even the loin is rather long, this distance should not be long, and even rather long, because the correct proportions, correct longitudinal proportions of the body should be built according 3 to 5 or 3 to 5. So you have also the way how to check if this distance is short enough, because it is a result of the long chest, because of the false ribs well laid back. So one more time, slant towards the rump, slant back of the false ribs will lengthen length of the chest, which will provide correct proportion between length of the body and length of the chest. Let's go on. This could be checked only visually, but you have to understand what is the reason when we order this ratio 3 to 5. When dog is moving, head is moved forward and hind legs are moved backwards. The legs from the opposite side are converging to the vertical line dropped from the axis of the pendulum. The oscillation of this blue line is around the golden section length, and this is the golden section length, and this can explain you that when you find out the dog with a short neck or with not enough angulated the rear, then this dog will move not so with not so extended trot, because this correlation will be destroyed. So one more time, length of the body and length of diameter are correlated. The more hind leg is placed behind when the dog is moving, the more forward head and neck are moved forward. This ratio could not be measured in the ring when judging, but when that ratio between two red lines is presented, then this vertical line will connect the eye and paw of the front leg at the moment of landing or close to it, and it will be considered if the criterion of the extended trot. When the foreleg cannot reach the base of this vertical line, you can understand that it is because of the violation ratio between two red lines at the previous picture. So let's go on.
Сюда?
Следующую золотую пропорцию, нет?
Ага, хорошо. Полюба. А на каком?
Что у нас там было? Наверное, следующее касается соотношения морды и череп.
Морда и черепа, это где?
Я думаю, что последнее.
Наверное.
В другую сторону.
Вот это, да, вот она.
Да. And this is the criterion of the correct ratio between volume of the muzzle and volume of the skull. So, I believe that this model approach could help you when evaluating the dog's Borzoi's conformation. Now let us look at the different pictures, and we will describe them, the pictures. The only thing I would like to repeat once again, as I told before in the previous lectures, I do not evaluate the dog. I evaluate picture of the dog placed in some moment. It could be good moment, it could be not so good moment. So please keep in your mind. As I told you already, this is an absolutely gorgeous representative of the breed. Medium long-bodied, there is a lot of furnishing. So this is the shoulder joint or humeral scapula. Here could be sternum. This is the buttock. Look at the top line. Smooth top line, practically at the same level with us and iliac tuber, slightly arched, with a long aristocratic head, a long neck, with a deep chest, excellent front angulations, straight forelegs with slightly inclinated forward pastels, and excellent rear angulations, strong in bones, excellent coatings, with a correct coat regarding distribution of its length on the body, head, and all parts of the dog. It's not surprisingly that he is a world winner. So, enjoy this dog. We can move. This is an example of the bitch. Where is it visible that the body is longer than by the male, which is correct. Slightly long-bodied. And this picture, I will explain you the reason why the bitches are longer in the body than the females, than the males, sorry. Usually, when I'm asking what is the reason for the elongation of the female's body, people told me because of the loin. This is not true. The loin proportion, the spinal proportions do not depend on the sex. They are absolutely the same. And you can check it, measuring the best specimen of the breed, males and females. But what is the reason for the lengthening of the body? The main difference between dogs and bitches is the croup. Bitches should bring the puppies. That's why they sciatic bone are longer. Here is the hip joint, is it placed. Length of the sciatic bones is more than by males. But last rib, its back edge is here. And if we lengthen the body because of the buttocks, then ratio 3, sorry, it's better to say 5 to 3 will be violated. This part will be longer than before. And the only way to restore harmonic proportion, to restore correct ratio between chest part and hind part is to develop a little bit more forechest. And you can see here, length of the bitch's body is increasing because of two phenomena. Sciatic bones are a bit longer, and forechest is developed a bit more. So you have in front of you beautiful bitch with an aristocratic head, long neck. Top line is typical for the bitch. It is more flat than in the males, and it matches the requirement of the standard. Look at the angulation, perfect angulation in front, slightly sloping top line, pasterns, and correct angulations in the rear. This is the buttock, and this is the vertical line close to the inner part of the rear pastern. About the ears. Остановимся, Катюш, на предыдущий.
Хорошо.
Так. Too thick, too heavy, wrongly directed, with the rounded tips. Almost the same is here. If you see this picture, the general expression will be nice, Borzoi, but small detail concerning the ears, you can see the fault. You can see that the ears are set a bit too low with the wrong direction. Correct direction, pointed ends, small ears. It is the example of the sloping top line. It is an example of the correct top line. You can see height at the withers and height at the rump or at the iliac tuber are at the same level. And the top point is in between here, and the arch is symmetrical. You can see these dogs viewed in front. The correct width of the front and narrow. Correct front angulation, rather low carried neck, too upright to vertical carried and set neck, and straight front, straight upper arm, forearm, and straight pasterns. So you can see from this angle distance between the forelegs and hind legs, which are placed more wide. You can see also the length and shape of the tail. You can see top line even from this angle, which looks quite smooth, and rather low carried, so already seen. It's a beautiful example of correct movement. Look, absolutely perfect top line, smooth, not so arched compared to the standing, but this is correct. And if we find another picture, I will explain why. Correct placed limbs under the body, close to the landing moment. Right angle, which determines the span of the limbs, and high and front paw belong to one vertical line. That's it. Also correctly carried tail. So this is, it was the male, this is the female. You can see the same features I described just before, but the top line is not so arched, and this is quite correct and typical for the bitch. The rest I will not describe because of the same qualities. Beautiful male, moderately long-bodied, with a correct top line, withers, and rump or iliac tuber are on the same height. Excellent length of the forelegs. This is the level of the elbow joint. It is exactly the middle. Noble head. In this angle, neck could be described as the long enough, but this is because of the angle. Usually slant of the upper arm and its length, and slant and the length of the neck are similar. It could be easily explained if you imagine that we have a liver, neck, shoulder blade, and upper arm create the liver, when neck and upper arm are handles of this liver, and normally that should be equal in the length and slant. Deep chest, excellent angulated in the rear, and looks masculine, which is absolutely correct as the illustration of the difference between the sexes. This is the same dog which was on the move. Also moderately long-bodied. Top line is more arched than when he was trotting. I will give the explanation of that. Not exactly pictured not exactly in profile, so length of the neck and slant of the upper arms are a little bit, how should I say it in English correctly? They do not reflect the reality, because humerus scapula is of correct angle and elbow is under the withers, and the rear legs are placed behind so much when vertical lowered from the buttocks is just a little in front of the inner side of the rear pastern. About the difference in standing and in movement. The dog in stance you saw at the previous picture, and the same dog you saw a little bit before when it was moving. When the dog was standing, the top line was a little bit more arched. When it was moving, the arch was not so much expressed. Why? Look at this, please, and try to imagine. When dog is moving, what is happening? The hind legs articulations are straightened. They are unbending. And that's why the pelvis is a little bit turning counterwise, and is it not so much sloped as in standing. That's why top line is becoming less arched. I cannot find out the better picture to explain But the main thing I would like to repeat it, that in movement, when dog is trotting and its hind legs are unbended, the pelvis is becoming not so sloping. It is turning a bit counterwise, and that's why the top line arch is expressed a little bit less. The top line, when moving, is not so arched. So let's come back to the pictures. Let us look at this bitch, square-bodied bitch, with some very nice details, like top line, depth of the chest, length of the forelegs, beautiful shape and length of the head, long and rather low set and carrot neck. The demerits is concerning her hind quarter. The upper thigh region could be wider if the buttocks will be better pronounced. Length of the sciatic bones could be better, could be longer. And you can imagine, you can paint in your mind, in your imagination, that if we lengthen the body here, format will be becoming correct. So the problem is not enough developed sciatic bones, not enough pronounced buttock. So gorgeous bitch, moderately long-bodied, with a beautiful top line. We cannot say exactly how long is the neck because of the angle of the moment of picturing. Correct front angulations. Elbow is exactly under the withers, slightly sloping pastures, excellent angulated behind, and beautifully coated. Noble bitch, noble. Let's go on. 3 different pictures. A little bit sloping top line, a little bit straight in front. Front assembly could be developed better. Either humeral scapula, upper arm could be sloping more, and forward chest could be pronounced more. Excellent angulated behind, with the correct depth of the chest. Long neck, muzzle is a little bit snipey. Nice bitch, with an excellent body length, correct top line, symmetrical and smooth, good depth of the body, feminine head. Difficult to say what is reality of her front assembly, because forelegs are moved a little bit forward. Maybe it is the result of the moment. And you can see elbows are practically under the withers, but forelegs are a little bit inclined forward. Correct rear angulations. It's a beautiful bitch with just a little bit sloping top line, just a little. Excellent depth of the body, length of the body, correct depth of the body, correct length of the forelegs, nice long feminine head, quite long neck, top line is smooth and symmetrical. Front angulation is okay, excellent angulated behind, excellent coated with a correct distribution of the coat all over the body. We already saw this picture. Here is the long-bodied bitch with a rather straight top line, which is quite acceptable in case of the bitch, with a correct length of the forelegs. And this picture head is not in profile, so difficult to say how does it look when it is exactly in profile. Rather long neck, a bit straight in front, and a bit too soft in pastern. Excellent angulated behind, well coated. So the next one, already this picture. Moderately long-bodied bitch, a bit too leggy. So distance from the ground to the brisket is a bit too much. Top line is correct to the iliac tuber, but a bit too sloping croup. Almost equal in the length front and hind strides, feminine head, long neck, enough coated. It's a beautiful bitch, excellent build, medium long-bodied, with a perfect top line, deep chest, correct length of the legs, feminine head, quite long neck, and balanced movement. Front and rear strides are equal. Span of the limbs fits the right angle by the axis of the pendulum, and eye and paw of the front leg lie on one vertical line. In this case, at this moment, medium long-bodied with the top of the top line a little bit shifted backwards. So it should be here, and it is here. Just a little bit overbuilt. This point is a little bit higher than the feminine head, long neck, correct eye and the front paw position. They belong to one vertical line. And span of the limbs fits the right angle by the axis of the pendulum. This is the right long-bodied bitch with the highest point a bit shifted backwards. So the top line could be more symmetrical. A bit overbuilt. Iliac tuber is a bit higher than the width. Balanced gait because of the equality of the strides, front and rear. A bit too high set and high carried neck. Feminine head. This one. A bit too light in general bitch. Medium long-bodied. A bit leggy. bones could be stronger. Rather long neck, rather long head should be more parallel regarding bridge of the nose and profile of the skull. A little bit light in muzzle. Among merits, front and hind strides are equal. Top line is correct. Tail set a little bit too much curved at the tip. We have already saw this picture. Maybe it is the same bitch. Long-bodied, a bit too overbuilt, with a arch, with the arc, which could be more symmetrical because of the highest point, which is somewhat shifted backwards. Feminine head, medium long neck, equal strides front and rear. Well coated with the correct distribution of the coat all over the body.
That's all. You won't believe, but we
Okay. Okay.
final destination.
Okay, dear participants, probably my lecture was a bit too sophisticated in the beginning. You have the possibility to come back to this model approach reading my book. I can understand that if you don't know this approach, it could be not so easy to accept it because of unusual way of assessment. But anyway, these models have the universal character. They could be used for any breeds. And in case of Borzoi, it was especially developed after I finished working on the biomechanical model of the dogs without exceptions. And Borzoi, like other dogs of this Sighthound group, are an exception. And it was done special research during 2 years when I was able to watch and measure 156 Borzois at the Moscow and the Russian shows. After that, this material and the results of my measurement gave me the idea how to explain this modification happened in case of Borzoi in the comparison to the other breeds. So this is one of the most difficult breeds for judging. So please try to come back to these ideas when reading my book. I noticed already. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your understanding and patience. Nikki, interesting as usual, and thanks for the legend of Moshe. The pleasure with here again.
We have
Okay, thank you very much, Nikki.
in the question section, if
Yes, please.
why are the measurements for the top line proportions to arrive at the golden ratio on the Russian black terrier measured to the hip socket, but on the Borzoi are measured to include the ischiatic tuberosity buttock?
No, No, this is misunderstanding. The length of the top line in both cases, either in Black Russian Terrier or in case of Borzoi, are measured similarly. I mean, the beginning of the top line is the beginning of the thoracic part of the chest. This is the first thoracic vertebra, close to the junction, close to the joint connecting neck and actual back. That to be followed to the lumbar region, and after the iliac bone, this line follows to the root of the tail, not to the buttocks. It is really misunderstanding. Way of measurement was absolutely the same. Some more questions?
No, no. I think everything is clear.
No more questions?
No more questions.
Oh my goodness. The participants got tired, I can imagine. Me too.
I can imagine.
Yes.
Okay, then we are saying goodbye till next Tuesday, and next Tuesday we will have Central Asia Shepherd Dog.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Try to have rest a little bit.
Yeah, I will take a rest.
Yeah.
And you too.
As I say, never too tired to hear you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Anyway, thank you so much to everybody, and then see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
See you next Tuesday.